every single thing. I can't wait to get in this conversation because everything I do in life, it sucks. Everything I do in life, it sucks. That's why when I was 300 pounds and 24 years old, it wasn't like I had some big epiphany of let's just go be a Navy SEAL and let's lose some weight. No, I knew my entire life was going to be a struggle, which is why I just ignored it. And I said, I'm not even trying to jump off into this shit and learn how to read, how to write, how to memorize, how to become something I am not.
There have been so many times in my life where I knew I needed to do something, and then I filled all this extra time not doing that thing. And then the moment I did it, I was like, wow, that took way less time than I thought it was going to take. And not only that, it took way less time than it took me to delay to actually get to this point. And if I had only started with just doing what I was supposed to do, I could have done 4 or 5 other things that I was also supposed to do by this exact same point. And so thinking about it from that perspective, I've tried to eliminate as much time between I think I should do this thing and beginning doing it. And I think you get this positive reinforcement cycle that occurs every time you start. I call it pulling the thread. It's like, I just need to start pulling the thread. And then all of a sudden what feels really unknown becomes very tangible. And you're like, oh, I understand the 6 problems I have to solve to do this big thing. But now I know the problems, and then it feels like you can wrap your arms around it, and then you can start taking it one bite at a time.
This year I've been thinking a lot about the sacrifices that come with success. You know, like nothing comes for free. And I've reflected a lot over the years of how much of my mental peace I've had to sacrifice to accomplish what I've accomplished. And it's just been a lot of like waking up at 5 a.m., going through the day, wake up, weigh myself, weigh my food, do my check-ins in the mirror, like go to the gym, work out. What's wrong? Everything is like, am I good enough? Am I being enough? Am I doing enough to win the Olympia right now? It's all just compared to being Mr. Olympia, to that level of success. And, you know, people talk about what you sacrifice to be great at things, and they're normally like, you don't get to go hang out with your friends. You don't get to go party, go eat, go do these things. But I think for me, the biggest sacrifice has just been my mental peace. So the goal this year has been trying to find that, maintain it, have the mental peace while also thriving at a high level, and seeing how I can do that as efficiently as possible. And, you know, I'd like to be able to say I did so successfully.
People are going to think that I am maybe lying or maybe fibbing or exaggerating. No. I was the lowest form on earth, no talent, no ability to learn, and I literally know what it is to be rock bottom and to build that up. So that question about learning, it's a pain in my ass, and I don't have to do it. So think about it, I'm 49 years old and I'm a multi-millionaire. I don't have to do anything. So all I thought about when I was growing up is, man, I can't wait till one day it gets to the point where I no longer have to do this stuff. But what happens, I got older, it became a way of living. So how I do every day is how I do every day. It's a discipline, it's a regimen, it was a choice I made. And the choice I made was, what are you willing to sacrifice, and what are you willing to give up to find every bit of who you are as a human being? And I was willing to give up everything to do that.
So at 13 years old, I had a I had a kill list. And so, you know, they used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. So I was like 57 on the list. And so I will look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. So when we go on an AAU travel circuit, I got to hunt them down, right? And so that became my mission in high school, is to check off every other person, all those 56 other names, hunt them down and knock them down.
I used to define power by the distance between thoughts and reality, meaning if you think about somebody who's omnipotent, so if God or the God figure would be omnipotent, as he thinks, things are. So there's zero space between thoughts and reality. And so if we want to be more godlike in our lives, the distance that we can shrink between wanting to do something or thinking something should be done and it being done is a direct indication of our personal power in our lives. And so that has helped me basically think, don't be a powerless bitch.
There will always be, I'm trying to be the best in the world. That means I need to beat these people. That means I'm good enough or I'm not good enough in comparison to something external of myself. But internally, the values of the truth of what you hold in yourself, of what really success means to you in your entire life, those are the things that you kind of have to balance and weigh out and kind of lean into one or the other. And I compete because I want to win. I love winning. I love being the best in the world. I've sat many times trying to find the balance of what I want within all this. If I was losing, I wouldn't be competing. I'm here to win. And it is what it is. I love what I do, but at this point it's taken away a lot that I just really love winning more than I dislike the work. So it's fine. I can do it. But my values are still bigger than that. My success at the end of my life is beyond hurting myself now to do so. So it's a constant check-in with myself of making sure I'm lining up my values and I'm not going to sacrifice winning to do so. And I need to be smart enough that when those start to disbalance, I need to pull away from one, focus on the other, and know when to check out.
As far as an individual person, there's going to be things in your life that you don't have control over.
You know, there's two different mindsets when you win something. There's, oh, I won, I did it, I'm done. And then there's, oh shit, like I got to do better than this. I won, now I have to maintain this. Not only maintain this, but this is the bare minimum of what's expected of me, and I got to do better now. So there's the balance of all that. And I think over the last couple of years, I've been able to really be able to fix my perspective on just being grateful for the privilege of it. You know, there's been times where I thought I was going to stop competing because the pressure felt so high. And then when I started to step away from it, I was like, fuck, I would really miss this pressure. Like, I have something I love about it. There's something I love about being put back against the corner, like knowing that there's a lot of work I have to do, feeling like I can't accomplish my goal and you're going to have to do it. There's something so like simple and beautiful in the meaning of just doing something that difficult under that level of pressure that you're choosing to do. You know, people say you find meaning in suffering. And I think if you put yourself into like a meaningless suffering, it's kind of just, it's dumb. There's no point. You're just hurting yourself for no reason. But if you can find your meaning in just doing hard things that are as close as possible to suffering, that you're still benefiting from and you still enjoy, I think it's beautiful.
So clearly, if you're going to get good at jiu-jitsu, you got to be disciplined enough to train all the time. Same thing with being in the military. If you're going to be a good operator, you have to have the discipline to push yourself in training. But you can't be a person that, you know, leans so hard towards a disciplined, structured life that you don't have any creativity, because both in jiu-jitsu and on the battlefield, you definitely want to be creative and figure out creative solutions and things that people haven't thought of and things that the enemy is not going to think of or that your opponent's not going to think of. So you got to find that person who has a good balance between discipline and kind of a wild freedom, creativity that they can make adjustments. Human beings can control a lot more than they think they can. And oftentimes it's pretty easy just to say, oh, that's not me, that's not on me. And I think that's the whole genesis of the idea of extreme ownership, is most of the time, or much of the time, people say that's not my fault, there's nothing I can do about that. And more often than people think, there is something you can do about it. And it is your fault. If you have a mindset that's so highly disciplined, so highly structured, like I just said, then you're not going to think creatively when there's a problem that needs to be solved. So you want to have people that don't mind the discipline and can actually access the discipline in a way that they can utilize it, but you don't want people to be trapped by discipline. And it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. If you have someone that only knows how to do a certain move and they can't think creatively about other ways to employ that, it's not that they're not going to be good, because they are going to be good, but they're going to reach limitations.